Van update 12. This one's very formal, as you can see. I'm sitting down in this wonderful new seat that I've built. It's very windy today, so I apologise, there's lots of wind noise. I've moved the van somewhere else because it's been at my house for a while and the neighbours are getting a little bit annoyed, so I've shifted it. So yeah, apologies about that. But so yeah, obviously I've made, there we go, made a seat. So it's got the plywood base on top of the frame that you saw in the last video, and a bit of foam. What still needs to be done is obviously some oilcloth. But this is, what's the date today? Sunday the 29th of March. So we've had 2 weeks of like proper corona lockdown, and I've run out of wood, any sort of normal timber, plywood. Can't really get hold of any oilcloth from anywhere because you want to go and look at it first to make sure it's like the right thickness. So there's one or two things in the van that I really can't do. But I've been doing lots of small things today and sort of during the week because I've been working from home as much as possible, probably like everyone else. So yeah, seat done almost. That one's also done. Similar thing. You've got a like some bits of wood that are going to hold it in place. So if you've taken it out to get to something underneath, you can sort of just shuffle it around until you get the bits of wood in, and then it's fairly solid and not going to move about and fly out when you're driving. The kitchen's obviously becoming formed because of that. The other thing is I've made the cubby hole on this side anyway. Haven't done it on that one yet. Again, run out of wood. But that's essentially what it's going to look like. I've got my USB, which they all work now. So that's done. The 3 pins still to go in. I actually broke one of the casings when I was trying to suss out the sizes, so I need to buy a new one of them. But whatever. But yeah, so that's sort of this area. What else has been going on? Small bits. Made a drawer to fit underneath the gap that we raised the fridge up by, because of the fact that the fans for the fridge not being in the right sort of space directly behind the fridge, we have to raise it up, blah blah. Probably already know this. Anyway, so that's a drawer. That's just going to house something. And then I've also just carpeted really roughly around the fridge, because that's basically where the fridge is going to be now. Once we've done the gas, at some point there'll be some plywood sheeting come over the top of this, so this sort of rough edge is all going to be covered, but you're actually going to see this bit. So I thought I'd do that. Another small bit is the shower room. I had to cut out the floor and then cut out the insulation and then put the plywood back in just so the shower tray's got something to sit on. But the reason why I did that really was so I know I've got the full amount of height. I think I've got loads of room anyway, but just any extra height that I can get is going to be useful and just make it feel a bit more spacious really, because this is going to be quite an enclosed space. It's going to be quite small, obviously, as you can see from the footprint of the shower tray. So anything I can do to make it bigger really. So again, can't really do anything else on this because I need the plywood, and I managed to get a Wix order. Not that that's the most important thing. Most people have been struggling to get food, and we also have been struggling to get food, but got a Wix order coming, and that's going to contain most of the wood that I need, but none of the plywood. They don't seem to deliver that, and places like Jewson's, which is the only sort of major building contractor around, is only serving trade customers at the moment. So don't really know. I might be able to find someone who can maybe order me some of that. But that's the next thing, is basically to ply out this L, and then maybe start building the stud work for the sides of the shower room, and then ply out that, and then I can start to sort of buy that shower white sort of mermaid board and start planning that out. What else? The electrics, that's the other thing. So I brought my 2 batteries because Sunshine Solar still open, so I can buy that. So I've basically been trying to hoard and buy as much as possible from all the places that are still possibly open even. So yeah, the 2 120 amp leisure batteries, and only one of them's connected at the moment because I don't have enough wires to sort of connect everything else up. But once that's done and connected, I can build sort of the frame to kind of make sure the batteries aren't jiggling around. I can fit my solar regulator onto the side of the battery somehow, onto the frame, so that I can open up the sort of side cabinet, which is this plastic thing here, open the passenger door and then open that and have a look or change a fuse or anything I need to do without having to take the seat bait off, which is a pain in the ass. And then then tidy up all the cables around this sort of area. Now I know the full length and exactly where everything's going to be. I can sort of recrimp stuff, make it neater, and buy some conduit or something and sort out all that stuff. There's one more cable. Oh, some of this I need to put that together again. Actually, I took it out. Yeah, well, there's one more cable that needs to go from this vehicle battery to the alternator of the van, and that's for the fridge. The fridge can run on it's a 3-way fridge, but when you're driving, it should be running off the vehicle battery, so you don't turn off any of the gas or anything. So basically only when the vehicle is running, it can then draw power to feed the fridge, and that's the only thing in the back of the van that's going to be running on when the vehicle is also on, because you should just turn off everything. So one more for that. The inverter is in. Well, it's not really, it's sort of just making sure it fits, but it's going to be in here somewhere, probably down there to be fair, and obviously that's going to be feeding all the 3-pin normal household stuff off the batteries. And the way that's going to work is I've got a cable, a white cable, this big chunky one, that's going to plug in just like you usually would into the side of the inverter down there. That's always going to be plugged in. And then what we have, which I still haven't finished either, is that same white cable comes round to here. So this one, and then this white cable is the 230 power from the Sargent electrical RCB unit. So this one's going to be for when I'm on hookup, this one's going to be for when I'm on the inverter, which is probably going to be used most of the time. I don't see myself being on hookup many times, but whatever. And then I can switch between the two, so I have the one socket there, another one there when I build that, and the other one sort of around the kitchen somewhere. And I can switch between like hookup or inverter by just plugging in the one to all of the 3-pin sockets into whichever one I want, and that way I can make it a lot easier. Rather than having like one socket that's only for hookup or one socket that's only for the inverter, I can just chop and change between the three and be simple, just plug it in. so yeah, that's that. I've been trying to sort out and tidy up the electrics, which is always a bit of a bugbear of mine because I sort of add more stuff to it, and more stuff still needs to be added to it, so I don't want to like neaten it up too much because I still need to be able to get to stuff. But for stuff that's not going to change now is this calamity of cables, which is like the USBs, the fans, the lights, the power from the batteries, all sorts of stuff. I sort of recrimped and redid all the connections for those and made them shorter, so they're all in this area, and then fitted the negative terminal block, so that's just not sliding around everywhere now. And that's, well, the cables now need to be tacked to the wall, but I don't have them at the moment, so just sort of sellotaped them on. And yeah, trying to tidy stuff up. Spare wheel carrier, as you spoke in the last one. I spoke to my brother, and he's gonna hopefully make some sort of bracket for the this side, that bracket there to connect onto. As I'm not really any good at anything to do with metal, and he is, so hopefully he can make that. Massive water butt that's going to go there. Need to do all the fixings for that and make the housing. So this is one of the studs that I put attached to the floor. It's going to be there. Probably build some sort of frame off that, and then maybe the one for the bed. Make sure it's all nice and cozy. And yeah, that's about it really. Finally got her, and that's about it really. So next things to do on the van is hopefully my brother can sort out the brackets for that, and then I can buy the underwater water tank, which is going to attach between the brackets for the spare wheel and the rear-wheel drive, which is like here-ish. And then I can buy that. I can start to then drill holes for the shower tray now that that's sort of in, and then fit the piping again, because piping you can buy online and it's not going to be too much of an issue. I've got some foam for the backs of the seats. I need some plywood to make that work, but I've got the foam. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have some foam up to about here. That's going to be on some plywood, and that's just going to like hook on with these like mirror hooks. So you can lift it up, take it off if you need to do something, or you just put it on, and then that'll be fixed on there. I've got some oak coming. Basically, I found some cheap oak on offcuts on eBay for the slide out drawer. It's going to be, sorry, slide out table that's going to be here, and I'm going to have to glue all those together, sand it down and make it all nice. But for that table, and also the kitchen top with thicker sort of 40 centimeters thick oak, same sort of thing, gonna have to glue it all together and make it, because buying big bits of oak is, one, expensive, and also now really difficult again, because I can't just go to my sawmill, which is where I used to get stuff when I was doing woodwork at school. I haven't done any big bits of oak, needed any big bits of oak, but that's probably where I'd go. They're closed, so I can't go there. And the other thing I've got is the drawer sliders, again off eBay, for the slide out table. So hopefully when all the wood arrives I can start to come up, sort of build up a bit more. But I've got loads of free time at the moment to do this because I'm working from home, so I don't have to be driving to and from work. Everything else is closed, so I can't go climbing, can't go to the gym, so I just need the stuff. Anyway, that's out.